Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we have a very special episode that will be speaking about mental health. With us tonight, we will have Dr. Katherine Washington Williams. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Williams. Reverend Catherine Dr. Washington Williams was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, to the late George and Myrtle Washington. Dr. Washington Williams attended and graduated from Washington High School, Lake Charles, Louisiana. She received her associate and Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies from Carolina College of Biblical Studies in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and her master's degree in Marriage and Family Counseling from Liberty University in Lynchburg, North Carolina, and her doctoral degree in psychology from North Central University. She entered the United States Army at the age of 17 and retired with 21 years of service. As a retired military disabled veteran, Dr. Katherine Washington Williams now serves as Region 8 Commander of the North Carolina State National Association for Black Veterans Incorporated. She reigns as the first African American female to command a veteran service organization in the state of North Carolina, as well as commander of Region 8, which serves North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Delaware. She is also the chief financial officer for the organization and a national veteran service officer with NAV Vets. Reverend Dr. Washington Williams has pastored Faith AME Zion Church in Fayetteville, North Carolina, due breast cancer, and what medical doctor stated to her, she closed the church and now she serves one of the associate pastors, elder at Johnson AME Zion in Cameron, North Carolina. She has served in various leadership positions in the community of Fayetteville, North Carolina, with the Order of Eastern Star, past matron, Queen Esther number 3, OES/PHA, the North Carolina State Women Commander of Chapter 0061, member of the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry Association of the Buffalo Soldiers, Greater North Carolina Chapter, Charlotte, North Carolina, member of the NAACP, and past president of Delta Gamma Sigma Fayetteville Chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, past secretary of the Greater Fayetteville National Pan-Hellenic Council, and now treasurer. During her military and civilian career, she has received numerous awards, certifications, etc. She is single, and has 2 sons, Roy and Kevin Williams, and 9 grandchildren. Dr. Washington Williams is a survivor diagnosed with Chiari malformation and triple negative breast cancer and other disabilities, which she is grateful to be able to handle. She is the owner and CEO of Connections with Dr. K, PhD, LLC. Dr. Washington Williams is known for being an excellent researcher, psychologist who specializes in military sexual trauma. She is certified as a life coach and specializes in hypnosis therapy for trauma clients. Children, adolescents, and adults are welcome. Reverend Washington Williams stated she retired from the Army to serve in God Army forever. Her life scripture is, "And he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace." That's Luke 8:48. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you all Dr. Katherine Williams. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. King, for having me here today. Thank you. It is very important that we close out May. Since 1949, the month of May have been Mental Health Awareness Month. And so thank you so much for having me here on this particular last Thursday of the month of May. I'm grateful. that we were here. We might not be in the last Thursday. I think we got one more, but I'm grateful to be here tonight to speak about mental health and what I do and my specialty when it comes to helping individuals um, succeed in healing. So I'm grateful for you to asking me to be here today.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add to your bio other than what I read for the audience to know a little bit more about you?
Not really, because you said a mouthful. Most of all, I'm just grateful to be here today. If we listen to what man say, and I'm going to say that, then we might find ourselves in positions where we're unable to do or accomplish a lot of things. But we know with all things, with God in all things, we are able to do anything, and anything is possible. So, as we talk about things, I will give you more about my story and how I obtained what God has allowed me to do into helping people.
Fair enough. And let's get into it. First of all, I would love for you to tell our audience about your military experience and why did you choose to join the Army?
So I joined the Army because when I graduated from high school, I had one choice, well, two choices: college or the military. And um, without the lack of funding, and in my family, we had to make some decisions, and my decision was to go into the military, and I'm very proud of that because my father served, and I wanted to always follow the footsteps of my father. And with him serving in the military, I told him one night, I said, Dad, I think I'm going to the Army, and he didn't say anything. And it was supposed to be me and my oldest brother going in together. And the night before we supposed to depart, my older brother didn't show up. And so I ended up going by myself, but nevertheless, I made it. And one of the things that my father instilled in me while I was in there was no matter what, if you stay in there for 20 plus years, you guarantee a paycheck for every month. Let that eagle fly. And so I stayed in there for those 20 plus years to let that eagle fly. And I'm grateful for that.
Wow,
Yes,
that
sir.
that's very impactful. Now, I want to know if you could tell our audience what inspired you to pursue a career in mental health.
Wow. Okay, good question. And it's a hard question, but it's a fair question. Um, Throughout my military career, things had happened to me. And when I, as a woman, went to report it or to tell uh, what had happened, it was very hard. For number one, people didn't look like me. And then number two, most of the people that was in the position to help was white males. And so I always said, how can somebody who don't look like me want to help me? And I'm not a racist or anything like that, but I felt that in my culture, if you haven't been and experienced what I've been through and what I've done, then you really couldn't help me. And I know that might seem biased, but it's not. I wanted to have help from someone that looked like me, and I didn't get that in the 80s in the military. So throughout the years of me wanting to get help, for something that had happened to me, everybody that they sent me to looked different. And so, at one point I had a conversation with God, and I said, Lord, I had to help myself. And so, through studying and through different things that I experienced in life, and I talked to other people, and they was telling me how, they didn't get help. And so they still was in their positions of depression or anxiety or other things that was going on in life, and I'm like, man, we got to get help. And so I pursued a career. The first one was in marriage and family counseling because I wanted to keep the family together, keep our culture of family together, And so once that panned out and I did that for a number of years, I said, man, there's more that I need. And I was seeing people that came to me through family and marriage counseling that had other issues that was going on, and there was more to it. I wanted to find that niche in life. And so I started taking classes one at a time. And then I said, no, I have to do better. I have to do better for our people. And then I pursued a degree in psychology to help people, brown people that look like me, that I know that I can relate to when they sit on, I'm not going to say a couch because we don't have a couch, sit in my chair. and I can relate to them, and they can see me and say this person could help and would help me. And so basically that's really how it started.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's really, really interesting. That's a good thing. So
Sir.
it sounds like also by reading your bio is that you specified the areas in which you work in. Tell
Yes,
us
sir.
about those areas.
So I really specialize in military sexual trauma, post-traumatic stress, and trauma therapy. And the reason why is because when in the military, um, we hide a lot, or we didn't tell families what happened to us. We might have went to war, and even coming back from a war, when I read about Vietnam, soldiers that was coming back from Vietnam, they kind of ignored a lot of our conditions that we was faced with. A lot of times we want to medicate, but I found out that a lot of times it's not about giving us a medicine to help us to overcome a situation. And yes, some people need medication, so don't get me wrong. It depends on the level of the trauma that they experience. But also, I believe that because of situations that people had to endure, uh, we have to find a broader a spectrum of how we can help. And so I found out that trauma in life, a lot of the trauma that we had to endure, is untalked about in our culture. And so I wanted to help people that went through maybe military sexual trauma. And we know that if you look at individuals that have experienced military sexual trauma at one point in the life of the military, we pushed it under the rug. They've done better now, and I have to be truthful about everything that I say. And so now that it's more exposed, and now that more people are reporting it, even though it's one of the biggest unreported uh, events in life. And we still don't talk about it. A lot of time, people are 60 and 70 years old, find themselves not talking about the trauma that they have experienced while they were in the military. And they find out one day that it's like a teapot on the stove. If you keep on letting situations go, maybe you been re-traumatized by seeing someone, or something triggers that emotion inside of you, and all of a sudden it blows up, and you find yourself in a situation where something happens. And so I tell people that I found out that a lot of people don't specialize in trauma therapy. And so I wanted to dig deep into it and find out more about it. And it's a form of therapy that helps you deal with an emotional response. Because a lot of time people say, oh, we're just angry. But we're not angry. We have a lot of emotions that are built up inside of us, and we don't know how to express them. And so, therefore, since we don't know how to express them, people find us angry or mad, and they want to label us. And I tell people there's ways that we can help people through trauma therapy, that we're not labeled as angry or dysfunctional or whatever people want to label us as, Mr. King.
Wow. Well, so can you tell us this? Like when you're helping your patients or your clients when they come to you,
Mhm.
what are some of the methods that you use to help at ease your clients when they first come in?
So before I say that, let me say this. So more than 50% of people in America have experienced some type of trauma in their life. And when I say trauma, it's a very wide range of trauma. I'm talking about serious injuries, sexual violence. We know what's going on with P. Diddy, and we'll talk about that a little later. Life-threatening things, chronic abuse, neglect, bullying, and homelessness. Life situations every day um, cause a trauma in people's life. And so what I found out in life is that we can have different types of methods that will help people. We can do such as a kind of therapy called prolonged exposure. And that's when we expose a person to the source of the fear. And until you're not afraid of that situation anymore. Maybe perhaps like kids in school, they are bullied, and they become fearful of the individual. They don't want to go to school. The habits of home is changing. They begin to wet the bed or doing different type of things because of a trauma that they're faced with in school. So the prolonged exposure is to let them, teach them, should I say, ways to face up to the person that's bullying them. And even in our workforces, Mr. King, we find ourselves being exposed to bullying too. Let's be honest about all situations in life. Everybody talk about kids, but as adults, we bully each other. You know, you go into the supermarket, you find yourself yelling at people. You go into the home, you find yourself being angry with siblings, and in family environment. We bully each other even in our families, in our home environments. We bully each other. So one of the things that we can do is find out um, how to help, or what will cause us to change our emotion when it comes to that. And one of the things is prolonged exposure. Get with the person who's doing the bullying and talk to them, and every day face them. You know, tell yourself, I'm not afraid of that person. And then, you know, talk to that person, ask them why. One of the things I tell people, you have to communicate. Ask yourself why are you doing that? What's going on? And really, most time when we find people bullying or going through things, we have to ask that person is, what are you going through that is causing you to cause me to go through a situation in life myself that's causing trauma on me? And so that's one of the things they do. And another thing, that my favorite part of therapy is cognitive progression therapy. And that's the type of therapy when I tell people, I say, you have to believe that the situation that have caused you to be traumatized will no longer cause you to be traumatized. And I do that for them sometime in group or maybe individual. It really depends on the individual and the level of trauma that the person is going through. Those are two. You can do trauma forced cognitive behavior therapy. I call it CBT, where you really, that's good for children and adolescents, where we address the inadequate belief, unhealthy behavior pattern that they're going through, that causes them to always endure that type of trauma. So there's eye movement. You can do different types of eye movement trauma. I don't believe in medication. I believe in holistic healing, where I tell people, I said, I tell people I do also hypnosis, where I take them back to the situation and ask them what causes that situation, and try to figure out, a lot of people, when it comes to military sexual trauma, what causes them, do they remember certain things and stuff like that, the color of the person hair, how did the person look. Most time when we come to trauma, we try to put it out of our mind and not remember the event that happened to us. So I try to bring it through hypnosis therapy, bring it back forward to your memory so it can relate to, now every day we're going to work our way through the progress of healing with the hypnosis therapy.
Well, tell us this.
Mhm.
What is the response of your patients to these different treatments and your approach to treating them with their specificity?
Okay, so most time in 2 to 3 months, you'll find out that a person, and it, again, it depends on the individual, but most time in 2 to 3 months, you can see a change in behavior from the client. A lot of times it's what are you willing to endure, you know. And again, I base everything on the speed of the person as I sit and talk with them. I found out, how fast or how slow I need to go with that individual. Are they ready to heal? Or maybe sometimes it's just that they need to just talk it out first, before you can really begin the therapeutic portion of the healing.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can you share some insights into your journey to becoming a mental health professional?
Okay, so you just want to make me spill all the tea. I see, and you're not going to give me a break at all. So mine happened. My incident happened while I was in the military. I had endured military sexual trauma, and for 16 years I didn't report it, and I had to live with that. And one day I encountered the individual that did it to me, and I really I wanted to retaliate. I wanted to pay back. I wanted to get back. I wanted to hurt the individual, and I came to the conclusion that I needed to help myself before I can help anybody else. And so what I did was I faced that individual. I went to that individual, looked the individual in the eye, and asked them, did they remember what they did? And as they told me that they did not, I knew that they were lying because I could see them. I can see them. Um, the crumbles of pity and self affliction just really getting to them. And what I did was I just told them, I said, I forgive you. So one of the things that I had to do is I had to learn to let go of the situation. I had to learn, and then I began to talk about it with other females, like-minded females that had endured um, the same thing that I endured while they were in the military. I got together with individuals, and as we talked about it, I found out that I wasn't alone on this journey. And I began to form support groups where I started off at the church. And, I invited a group of women. I put it out there to the public and let them know that, if you have experienced military sexual trauma, come and we had individuals came and we cried together. We told our story. And then eventually it began to involve where other people from other cultures and everybody else was coming together and telling. They were on TV and Oprah and everything else telling, had what happened, and it began to give a better exposure of what was going on.
So, what populations of patients do you primarily work with in your practice?
The population of I have to say, Mr. Charles, to be honest with you, it's an equal of males and females. Um, African American and white. A lot of my patients are private patients. They do not at this time want to be exposed because of the trauma, of the level of trauma that they have to endure. And so in mine is very private. Mine, I keep it private. And because of the culture of them, or maybe work related or whatever not, and I'm happy to do that. My hours are a little different from everybody else's hours. My hours are not during the daytime because I have to keep everything kind of where I'm protecting them as well as myself.
Well, that's actually that's a whole lot in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you, let's say you have a trauma patient, somebody that's coming in to be treated for PTSD, is there anything special about the approach to treating PTSD?
Well, the first thing I do, I try to find out what the person endured, because PTSD. Okay, so let me talk about the PTSD form of it. PTSD thing. When we think about PTSD, a lot of time people think about war. That's the first thing they want to relate to. And PTSD is not always about war. That's for the person who have endured military post-traumatic stress disorder. But post-traumatic stress disorder is a person that maybe saw a parent got shot, maybe saw a bad car accident, was in a car accident and someone died from that. It could be anything, anything that happened to cause the post-traumatic stress disorder. So my approach to a post-traumatic stress disorder client would be, first of all, to find out what happened, or can they tell me what happened? And if they can tell me what happened, I give them as much time as they need, through the crying and tears. We take our time. It might be just one sentence. I lost a family member, and I said, okay, that's fine. And then I might allow them to, should I say, to write about it. If they can't talk about it, write about it, or journal. They might do journaling. They might, do different methods that I will use with the individual. Just depends on the individual. Everything when it comes to counseling depends on the individual. And I love that, because a lot of time people think that we should all be at the same pace, from grief counseling to whatever not. I tell people, I say, no, it depends on the individual, and each individual have a different goal in mind when it comes to therapy.
Okay. Now, how do you approach the treatment of mental illness in children and adolescents?
So I love that. With children, I might use maybe an animal, a stuffed animal, or different methods with them. It depends on the age. I try to not do anyone younger than 6 years old. I try to make sure that they comprehend. A lot of time, what I found out with children who are going through a traumatic event because of the loss of a parent, or maybe they've been in an accident or something, or maybe experienced bullying in school, try to find out what it is that they're endured. I'll give you an example. With a car incident happened where the individual lost both parents in the car accident, um, and he was afraid to ride in cars. and I could understand that. So for him to get in the car, it was very traumatic. And so I asked the person who brought him, how did they get him here? And they said, well, we actually had to get on a bus. You know, when I go, I normally have to leave him at home. He have to walk to school and different things like that. And so the first thing I did was just brought a car and just put a car right there. And I had him fill the car, go around and just fill. And you have to talk about safety, that most cars are safe, and then I went through and talked about, that maybe the individual that was driving the car could have been drunk and different things like that. So a lot of times you have to do a lot of research. That's why I told you I'm a research therapist, because I have to research the client before I have to research the history of the client before I actually get them into the seat to find out actually what happened. I have to be one game up on them, to find out what has happened before I actually begin the therapeutic process.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, what are some common mental health challenges you observe in your patients?
Whew, communication. Most I'm not picking on males, but most of my male patients, when they come in, they don't want to talk, especially for those who have experienced sexual trauma. They don't want to tell what has happened to them. And I sit there patiently, and then I ask, do they want to see a male? And they said no. Most of them might say, well, I heard you were really good because she does hypnosis therapy. And I said, if you come in for me for hypnosis, I just won't do hypnosis like that. That's a process that takes place down the line. Um, and so as I gain trust in them and confident in them that they can talk about anything, we might go 3 or 4 sessions without them even talking about the incidents. Might talk about football, baseball, whatever they like. Again, it's about research. And then once I do that, they gain confidence in me and trust in me. I'll go ahead and talk about the process of what needs to be done. I'm kind of, Mr. Charles, a little different from most therapists, because I don't rush a therapy session at all. And some of my therapy session could be pro bono. You might not even pay me for that particular session. Um, when we accomplish the goal, I might take on the pay then, because I want to see individuals heal. I tell we hurt people. My motto in life is hurt people, heal people, help people. And I'm in the healing business, so I help people more than, it's not about the money, or anything like this. It's about the helping them to be healed, and overcome their situations.
So, you keep mentioning hypnosis. Tell
Mhm.
us, how does that process work?
Oh, that's a process in itself. That's a whole nother session. Uh, but depending on the individual and depending on the what has happened in the individual life and the trauma that has happened. Some people has forgotten or want to forget the incident, and what I do is I just bring it back through uh, memory. It's harder than it says. A lot of people don't use the method, because you can go into a deep hypnosis, or you can just go as far back as they want to go back, to remember that. So Mr. Charles, the process is not easy. I will tell you that, because sometimes you have to get the individual out of the state of hypnosis, because they cannot handle it. And so I try not to I don't do it on kids at all. Most of my clients that I do it on are females that have forgotten uh, uh, things that have happened of the process of their rape. I don't do it on too many males, but it's the females that have forgotten some of the things that had happened to them, and they want to recall those things. Maybe recall the victim or what he looked like, because they keep saying, "I've seen a glimpse of him," but I don't really know what he did, or maybe other things that have happened to them. So I put them under a deep hypnosis to remind them of what the individual looked like.
Okay.
Mhm. It's
Um,
not what you see on TV. I'm sorry, it's not what you see on TV. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, and that it's somewhat similar to that, but it's not that process,
okay.
sir.
Could you describe a particularly rewarding experience you've had while working with patients with mental illness?
Most definitely. One of the most rewarding cases, I had a young lady that I had when I first started. One of my first, as a matter of fact, one of my first clients is, and she, I had graduated, and her parents had brought her into me, and something had happened to her, and I had shared my story with her because her story was similar to mine, and when several years later, well, 3 years later, she came back to me and she said that she finally had a good night's sleep, and it rewarded me because sometime in the trauma with children, they don't sleep well, and we want to medicate them. But she said she finally had a good night's sleep without any medication. And that was the best reward ever, that she could close her eyes and not have nightmares or dreams about what had happened to her. That was the most rewarding thing that had ever happened to me. And most people look at that and said, wow, how's that rewarding? Well, for a child that says that I can't go to bed, I don't want to close my eyes because I dream constantly of this thing. I'm afraid. I want every light on. I want TV on or different things on, to finally say I got a good night's sleep without those things on. It was very rewarding to me. And that, to me, that was the biggest accomplishment of my life, to see the first person I've ever started on was a success to me. And it wasn't 3 years later. She came back that and told me that it was because of things that she remembered me telling her to do when she was fearful. Uh, and I like that. And as a matter of fact, she's getting ready to graduate from school. So I'm very proud of her.
Okay. So, in what ways do you engage with the local community to promote mental awareness and support?
Okay, very good question. So I offer myself at the school. I offer free service to veterans who have no insurance at all that need therapy. I do more pro bono therapy than anything because our community is hurting right now, and a lot of people don't want to. Um, have mental health on their insurance. So I find myself doing it. And I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that at all, Mr. King, um, because I know it's very rewarding in the end. So I do offer myself services to individuals that don't have insurance. And then I offer myself to school to go in and talk to the local schools about mental health and the children about mental health, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm very transparent when it comes to them, telling them things that they should report when it comes to bullying or trauma in life. You'd be surprised how many children in the school system have family members that have hurt them, and they might not report it years later. And I know we read about it all the time, but it's still children walk around here in the school system every day that are traumatized at home and won't report it.
So, can you go a little bit more in depth with that? Because like, let's see, let's just think about that child that you're talking about that goes to school and they've got these issues and they might be afraid to talk about it, but you can tell something's going on. In a situation like that, like how does the school handle that in conjunction with you, or is it you that would just handle that?
The school have social workers, and they have counselors in the school that handle that. And upon that, sometimes principals and etc. will reach out to me. Counselors will reach out to me and say, "I have a situation that I would like for you to take on," and I do take on individually, probably without anyone knowing. And I like to keep that like that, Mr. King, because a lot of times when children go through things, it's best not to expose them to the community. Our job is to keep the child safe at all times. So we do protect the children at all times.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yes, sir.
But so like when you are let's just talk about your community work.
Okay.
Like when you're out in the community,
Mhm.
how is it that you engage the people in your community where you're assessing, those that need some help and you help them out? How does that work?
I have a bad habit. I assess everybody that I talk to. You cannot be around me, Mr. King, because I even analyzed you already. Done an assessment on you and analyzed you already. The thing about it is, I'm one of those persons that if you ever get me in a room, and I like to talk, I do. But if you ever get me in a room and it's quiet moments and I'm looking around and I'm observing people, I'm really doing an assessment. In the community, when I'm in stores and when I'm in different places, I'm always doing an assessment of people. You know, I feel that in life that's my gift. That's what God has given me. I look for different signs of abuse. I look for different signs of mental health. I look for different signs of sexual trauma. And as a person, a psychologist who does research on this, that's my calling. That's my nick. I'm always looking and I can pick it up on people. And I might go to that person and give them a card. I might go to that woman when the husband or somebody's not looking, and I'll give them a card, and they'll look at that card and slip it in their pockets and stuff. I'm very careful with children because I really don't approach them. I like the adults to approach me. But if I see different types of abuse or something on a child that don't look right, you best believe I'm going to report it because I'm liable to report it. And I will report it. I'll take down a license plate number or different things. And what I'll do is I'll do a follow up. The good thing about it is we have friends that are always, that you can go through social workers, you can go through DSS and different places just to find out about, hey, have you ever seen this person before or whatever not. So there are different ways that the community and people help. I just don't go picking on and doing like that. It has to be something that catches my eye to cause me to be aware of my surroundings. For homeless personnel, it's easy for me to talk to them and find out about their issues because I'm always in the community of homeless personnel. When I see them on the street begging, I will give them a card and tell them, hey, you can come into my office if you need help. I'm not always in my office. I tell people the thing about it is I have a phone number that they'll text me. I said, it's best you text me and tell me this is going on. I'm not just for the homeless part of it, that I'm being abused or something that's going on in my life that's, and I'll go on and deal with them and help them. And I have a facility that I work at. I put them in a facility to keep themselves safe for different issues that are going on, mental health, especially they tell me they have a mental health issues. There's a facility that I work in that I can put them in and the state will help them.
Let me add a little humor to this.
Okay.
How about when you have your sorority meetings? I mean, do you analyze any of your sorority sisters?
Mr. Charles, I do the sorority, I do the church, I do my I'm on the I'm on a lot of boards. I do them. I do other doctors, Mr. Charles.
Mm-hmm.
I go to physical therapy. Everybody in they the joker in physical therapy. I go there twice a week. When I go in there, they say, there she come. There she come. And believe it or not, Mr. Charles, most of them come to me and say, hey, I got something going on. Okay. After I tell them something, it might be a joke, but it is a joke because I tell them, I'm actually, I done analyzed you, and baby, you got some issues. You might need to get a check. It's funny, but it's not funny because and you saying that, but look at P. Diddy and what's going on, what took place years ago. Mr. Charles, it's a cruel world out here when it comes to mental health. And we have endured it forever. We sit in rooms with each other and have so much going on in our life and have taken so much abuse. We can leave home and get into a bad argument with someone and they have put us down. Or we can encounter people in stores and everything else and feel real bad and go to a meeting and take it out in a meeting. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, honey, if you only knew. I cross my leg and cross my hand like this and be saying, honey, if you only knew the help that you need. And
as you speak of the Diddy situation, what is your opinion of that? How do you feel about that, knowing that that especially that last video that surfaced about the way he abused that woman.
Well, I'm gonna give you my theology. I'm gonna give you Dr. Washington Williams' theory. It ain't the first time. He just didn't get caught. They had a
Mhm.
camera where they caught him. And my theory is he's not the only one, Mr. Charles. I want people to understand this from the beginning of time, the African American women has endured abuse from the slave master to the husband to the counters at work and everywhere else. We've endured it. We put up with it. We have accepted it. We thought it was our culture. We thought it was our right to do it because that's how strong we are.
Mhm.
And even in a situation on TV where if I done got banned from Facebook for 180 days because I posted about the big bully, the big butch. And so I'm fine with all of that stuff because y'all know we done put up with so much in life. And people have found ways to bully us. And when we come back and we say that I'm not going to put up with it anymore,
Mhm.
then we are scrutinized by our comments that we make. However, in my line of work, I'm going to be nice and say it's time for us to be real. It's time for us to take a stand in America. It's time for us to take a stand in our life and say we won't accept it. We will speak up and we will
Okay.
speak out
Mhm.
and stop hiding behind our feelings. I told you I do trauma therapy. It deals with emotion.
Mhm.
And we have put up with so much that the tea kettle is boiling over. And we have a lot of emotions that will run over. And until we address the elephants in the room and start speaking truth, we will all be hurting instead of healing.
Well, I tell you, you can't say that any better than that. I think it's one of those things that there's no excuse for that. For one. But I just kind of hate to see, something of that magnitude where you've got an individual, and as you say, it's probably more than just him, but how they shine the light on
Yes.
his situation,
Yes.
and it's like the light, the light has it just looks so bad.
Yeah. She needs to be in therapy because even though the situation has been long ago, she needs to be in therapy and he needs to be in therapy. Both of them need to be in therapy on it. We don't know his situation. It could have been alcohol uh, that is stimulated from that or anything else, and I don't know because I haven't dig really deep into it, but I'm a study it more to find out the behavior pattern of both of them and why they both endure what they endured and that for that long. But Mr. Charles, um, mental health is real. Let me say that because I keep telling people mental health is real. But when it breaks us down where we begin to be abusive with
Mhm.
mental health, as he was, then it caused our society to um, to be affected. And I say that because if you look at the situation and you look at young boys, that teaches our young boys how to treat us. And that's not really how we should be treated. I don't care if you have all the money in the world. I don't care if you're making all the music in the world. I don't care if you're the best basketball player, football player in the world. I don't care if you're the most richest person in the world. That doesn't give you a right to put your hands on anybody, and it doesn't give a woman the right to accept it for that long, for that many years, and people talking about the statute, the statute of law. How long does it go on for? Well, the minute you put your hands on me, I should report it. When it comes to something like that, But again, fame, money, and everything else, hush money, and everybody else's money, cause our mental health to be healed. I don't think so.
Mhm.
But at the same time, America has been hurting from mental health more since COVID. Because we
Mhm.
were in the home, we didn't go to work, and then our environment changed. Every week we was apart from each other.
Mhm.
So I tell people since COVID, the cases of mental health has risen, and we really didn't know how to get help. I think on lockdown, all of us should have been given a free pass to mental health professionals, but we waited a long time. And even though we was trying to find ways to do Zoom and everything else, because even in the midst of COVID, I was doing Zoom. I even actually had people come into the office to still do the counseling session until people was bringing in the COVID, and you have to watch yourself and everything else because you have issues and you have to be safe. Um, and then we had other people in political arenas that set the tone for America, that gave us more issues in mental health. Let's be honest about it. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think that what we have to do in America is find the common ground to start healing. Um, where mental health professions, because even we get burnt out too, taking on everybody's problem. We have to find a thing. I was talking to uh, a friend of mine, and I told him, I said, we need to bring back dodgeball. If you remember dodgeball, where you played it in school, where during recess, everybody took this big ball and you used to take it and whap, hit somebody with it real hard. And some of them kids in school could hit. I mean, they had an arm on them where they that dodgeball stunk. I think we need to put everybody on a football field in our community and start playing dodgeball with one another. And I think that if we do that, we'll begin to heal. We begin to take that ball and in a good way, and take it and use it in a therapeutic way to heal. And I tell you, I promise you, it'll help us sometime even in the family. Use that ball in your family in a therapy session, and it'll work. It'll work.
Now, Dr. Washington, I want to ask you this because you just mentioned something that I think is really broad, but it's also really important. And that is when you mention healing in
Uh-huh,
America.
uh-huh.
Healing in America is something that I think will forever be, like just trauma in general. And
Uh-huh.
when I mention that, I'm talking about when it comes to Black America,
Okay.
because of the situation from what happened with slavery to up to this point here in the 21st century. There are so many Black men that are mentally scarred.
Yeah.
There are so many Black women that are mentally scarred.
Mhm.
I mean, we have to stay on top of things where we have to be 5 times better than our counterparts, but we're much smarter, but we just have this thing psychologically
Yeah.
that we just have to be better.
Mhm.
What are some of the and what's some advice that you can give a lot of people that are listening to this show right now as to how they might want to try to release some of that stress and that burden?
Great, great thing. So I tell people it depends on the type of therapy that you have, and I like that you said that. Is because there are different types of exposures that you can do. There are different types of techniques that you can do to help yourself. I tell people one of the things that I like to do is write. I tell people write a letter about what has happened to you. Write a letter about your emotions instead of expressing them in ways that will hurt other people. Write a letter, or
Mhm.
find you a girlfriend or girlfriends. One of my girlfriends, she was saying, what is one of the things that you would like to do? Because I was telling her I'm so tired, and she said, find 10 of your friends and let's go. Or well, she was telling about her cousins on her father's side. They going on a vacation, 10 of them. Gather family members that you love, or girlfriends that you love, or guy friends that you trust, and y'all go away and y'all talk. And say it out loud, the things that have hurt you in life. And make sure you can trust those individuals and you can talk out loud. I tell people, I do a thing called TOL, talk out loud, TOL, talk out loud to individuals that you trust. It don't always have to be a therapy. Talk out loud to family members. And then I tell people, do impact things, things that will impact your life, something that you want that will, and I tell people, I said, you have to find something that will cause you to release the hurt in your life. One of the things, Mr. Charles, I did was I bought me a Jeep.
Mhm.
honey, and I let the hair flow. I get on there, I put one leg out, and I get in my Jeep, and that's the most therapeutic thing that I've ever done. How people say a Jeep? Yes. You got the sun shining, the wind is blowing on you, and man, you driving, everybody waving at you, and then they ducking you because but you have to find a way to want to heal, and then not only that, I tell people you have to want to heal. You have to want to release the hurt that have caused the pain, because if you always harbor that hurt in your body and keep that stuff in your heart, you're never going to heal. But if you find a way to let that thing go, I promise you the healing will take place, and you will see a better America. You will see a better you will see better families, you will see better neighbors, you will see better kids. A lot of time, Mr. King, what we want in life is to continue the hurt. I'm gonna give you an example. You ever been in church? And I like to say church because I stay in church a lot. And when you in church, somebody asks you to move over, and you really don't want to move over because that's your favorite seat. Ah, hallelujah. And I don't want to move over. You tell a person to cross over, they bump your leg trying to cross over, and now you mad at that person. Well, now you 80 years old and you still mad at that person because that person bumped your leg. But they asked you nicely to move over and you didn't want to do it. All you had to do was move over and let them have that seat only for a day, and the next time, whatever. But I tell people, find a way to go to a person and ask for forgiveness. Or do better yet, you go to them and say, I forgive you. And I
Mhm.
guarantee you, if we find those things and we do those things, the healing will take place. One of the things that I love is research. I find myself in books all the time, and I tell people sometimes I'm at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning looking for methods and looking for ways and looking for things to help folks. And most time, Mr. Charles, I find myself
Mhm.
being healed through something that I might have missed in life. I find myself going, "Wow, I didn't know that." And so if we find ourselves in situations like that, whether it's because of abuse, abandonment, accidents, bullying, crime, or trauma, or death of a loved one, and I want to get back on that one in a few minutes and stuff, homelessness, imprisonment, when people have been in prison, job loss, anything that will cause us trauma, we have to learn to want to heal. We have to learn that it might not happen in 2 or 3 or 4 months. It might take a lifetime. And I say death of a loved one, and I'm gonna tell you this, Mr. King. When my mother died, it wasn't suddenly, but to me, it was so impactful because I had spoken to her that day. I was at a conference. She told me to have a good time, dance like never before. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I got a call that she had passed away by 11 something at night, 11:30. Don't really remember the time. And I screamed so loud, I woke up the whole hotel. And I grieved for a long time without anybody knowing. I was counseling people, helping other people. But every time I smelled something and I talked about something about my mother, or spoke of mother, or heard people celebrating their mom, I got sad. And I was going through grief for my mother for a long time. And I heard, well, people that I was around, oh, it'll be all right. And I want to hurt people that was telling me it'll be all right because that was my mother. I was a selfish individual.
Mhm.
And one day I had seen the white butterfly because my mother loved butterflies. And I saw this white butterfly. And it wasn't until I saw this white butterfly that I became at peace with what had happened to my mother. And so I began to release some of the grief and the hurt that I felt. And I told people that until we understand that what we experience in life, the trauma that we experience in life because of a loved one who has passed on, because of bullying or whatever, not until we release that, we cannot heal. And I found out that because of that, Man, whenever I see a white, I got a white butterfly always flying around the house. Now I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, I get the picture. It's something that you want me to do, Mom. I get that picture. Or I begin to be joyful and I find ways to help me every day to heal. And so with America, I want them to know that we can heal, we can release, we can relate, and we can let go of the things in life that is hindering us for being the best us we can be.
Are there any specific initiatives or programs you've been involved in to address mental health needs within your community?
Um, well, I talk a lot. Okay, I'm glad you asked that question too. So I'm a triple negative breast cancer survivor. And doing that, I'm not gonna show y'all because I'm not gonna take my beauty away from me. I'm bald under this wig. I will tell y'all that much. And that was traumatic for me because I was given 18 months to live 13 years ago, and I'm still here. So when a person had told me, a doctor had told me that I wouldn't live past 18 months, and here I am 13 years later, still surviving and thriving and doing the best I can. I'm a big advocate for breast cancer awareness. So anytime I get the platform to speak about breast cancer awareness and mental health and how it had affected me by being bald, I found out this thing, Mr. Charles, that we can wear wigs all day long, short ones, blind ones, big ones, whatever not, and we can look beautiful. So that's one of the biggest things I'm involved in the community. A lot of homeless programs I'm involved in the community with that. And so um, I'm just an advocate for anybody, the lowest of them, the least of them in the community. I'll help anybody that need help. So it's a lot of them. I'm right now, the biggest things that I can think of is being an advocate for mental health, being an advocate in the community for breast cancer awareness, being an advocate for homeless. I'm the person to do it. I'll speak on any platform needed.
Well, let me ask you this,
Yes.
because I think, well, I'm more, not just I think, what I know is that when just listening to you and the things that you do, um, this platform, this show, American Black and White, is about the targeting of the underserved
Mhm,
communities to try to build them up,
mhm,
and just building them up and connecting them and connecting them and connecting them, and really trying to make sure that the most vulnerable person that's out there, especially in these times, there are an enormous amount of people that's going through mental illness.
mhm.
And so, as you look at that and you think about your own personal traumas that you've dealt with or what you are dealing with, how are you able to situationalize the personal side and the side for the people that you deal with? How do you do that?
Uh, just by I put myself in everybody's shoe that I encounter. I always say that I'm two sheets from being homeless myself because I have been homeless before and nobody knew about it. And so I cannot forget about where I came from. I cannot forget about what my mom and dad instilled in me, how we help everybody, because my mom and dad was people, persons in the community that would help anybody, would give. My dad was a master mason. He would feed the widows. He believed in feeding widows, and doing. I got one of the biggest toy things for Christmas for kids that don't have, where every child in the school will get a toy. If I know about it, they getting toys for family. I just believe that our society can do better. We don't need a lot of money because I don't have a lot of money or nothing like that. But I tell people what I do is that I reach out to other people that are like-minded people that are like me, that want to give and want to do, that might not have much, but we can pool our resources together and help other individuals. um, I don't credit nothing that I am and who I am by myself, Mr. Charles. Everything that I've done is because other individuals believe in me. The community believed in me. My children believed in me. My family poured in me. I got a niece when I was struggling with some stuff, and I was telling her, man, I got to formulate these sentences the right way. So I need your help. She helped me. I had a brother when I was getting ready to finish school. I needed money to graduate, because I had to pay for things. My brother poured into me, my family poured into me with money when I didn't have finances. And so I just believe in our community, it takes every one of us to help each other. You may not have the degree that I have, but what you have, I may not have. And so, therefore, coming together, America, coming together, helping our society to improve. Not having that crab mentality is because I have more than you, that I want to keep my more, but saying because I have this, I can also help you get where I am. I have a thing, Mr. King, where young ladies that when I find out they haven't graduated from high school and they don't even have a GED, I take them down to one of the community colleges and I tell them, I say, you can ready to enroll, you know. Uh, and I tell people, I say, no, because you can be better, baby. You real smart. Don't let nobody plan in you that because you didn't graduate at 18 that you can't make it. You can make it. It just takes somebody who has been there. Sometimes we have to feed one another the positive things in life. I tell people, I say, give them a mental stick of positive instead of negative, and guess what? They'll make it. They'll make it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's so impactful. I'm sure that your community is loving everything that you do. And I'm very sure that people that are watching this are saying the exact same thing because this is what we all should be doing.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't, but most of us do.
Yeah.
But I think eventually, before this year is over with, I think more of us will be actually getting together and sharing resources and making things work.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me what do you think are the most pressing mental health issues facing your community today?
Um, the lack of resource when it comes to uh, a community that is dealing with depression, the lack of resource of medical attention when it comes to mental health resources. Um, you know, everybody want to get paid. Everybody want to get paid when it comes to um, uh, helping people, but sometimes we have to learn to give that uh, free mental health advice. Sometimes we have to learn to give free, and we do a lot. Don't get me wrong, we do offer free classes, but I think that in our community we should have in place on Saturdays Community Resource Day, where mental health professionals, from psychologists to psychiatrists, whether they licensed or unlicensed, to therapists, once a month, give of their time and service. And if you don't have insurance, you come and you talk about issues. Now, I understand that a lot of times we can't take all day because a lot of people want all day. But if you have a crisis, and I know that the VA has a good thing in place, that if you have a mental health crisis, there's a free number to call. Society has that same number. But I think sometime that we can do in person treatment a little better than we can. And not maybe once a month, but once a quarter, because I know everybody has to rest and everything, but maybe once a quarter, just the community get together and have a community day. Uh, and saying that, we're having one at our church on June the 22nd. And if you're in the Fayetteville, Cameron, North Carolina area, you can come out there and we'll be available that day to just talk to us.
Oh wow. I
Yes.
like that. Building communities.
Yes.
Um how do you integrate evidence-based practices into your treatment approach?
The way I evidence-based practices. Ooh, how do I integrate it? Wow, that's a great question, and I'm trying to figure out how do I integrate evidence-based practices. Elaborate more when you say evidence-based practices.
That
Did someone
is
ask that question?
no. That is that is when you basically, since you're a really good researcher, and you know how you go and you find the evidence that you need,
Okay.
or let's say you got a really pressing issue with one of your clients,
Okay.
and you got the evidence that you
Okay.
found that basically is going to help, that you've got to integrate and
Okay.
explain to that client.
So
Um,
what I do, Mr. King, is I try to do is I try to what I try to do is I pay more attention to the evidence that is presented to me and
mhm,
the decision that the individual will be making uh, in the therapeutic session. And I say that is because evidence-based practice is occupational practice, and it's scientific evidence. And so what I do is I have to weigh the pros and cons of everything that I'm given. And
mhm.
when I look at all the evidence that I have to attempt to encourage the individual uh, based on what I see, and then I have to make a decision based on what I know. If that is that answer good enough, good best practice.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you that best practice. I have to make decisions sometime, and every decision that I make, Mr. King, might not suit a individual that I'm counseling, because I will say this: say if you come to me with a situation, and the evidence that I have
Mhm.
is criminal or whatever not,
No,
I
it's a
might
little
not
it's a little bit off kiltered is what you're saying, to
exactly.
where it could be where you have to make, an executive decision to make
Exactly.
what you think is gonna be the best approach.
Exactly. And I might have to report, say if I might have to report something that I really don't want, or if, depending on what I find out,
Mm,
I have to weigh the pros and cons on everything that I do. I'm gonna say that. I have to look at, is it life threatening? And if it's life threatening, it's automatically reported.
mhm,
The evidence that I have is I have to report it.
mhm,
If you're suicidal, I have to report it. Even though you might say, well, I'm just playing, I'm not really going to do that. Well, you talked about some things and it has to be reported.
yeah,
So you have to be careful in what you say and what you do and all that you do. you know in some things, if it's like a judge. I tell people, if a judge see a case where an elderly person is being abused, but they stand with their son, he might have to take them out of that environment, you know, and
mhm.
call a subject matter expert to it and ask them that. So it really just depends on the concept of what we're dealing with, and then best decision practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you discuss any ongoing research or projects you're involved in related to mental health?
I'm not involved in none right now. One of the things that I plan on in the near future, and I would like to get involved in, is the military SHARP program,
Mhm,
to introduce to them different ways to handle cases that are being brought up that are ignored, because we have a lot of cases that are ignored,
mhm,
unreported cases.
mhm,
And I would like to tell ideas to the military on how we can address these cases that are ignored. I did research on it, and there are ways to do it, ways to introduce, ways to really help our service members talk more about that, instead of let you retire and get out of the military and then want to talk about it and stuff like that.
mhm.
So I think that we have enough scientific evidence that shows that this has been going on from the beginning of time, the culture that we live in, the people that we bring in to the military. At one time in life, I told somebody that you can be a sex offender and come into the military because that was the option that the judge gave you. But then we brought them into the culture of, okay, now you could be the best sex offender because you got males and females in the military now that are together. You put them in a barracks, so that behavior did not change. Uh, you know, let the truth be told, and let the church say amen at that. Because those are the option back there. You go to prison or you go into the military. So they gave
Right,
you that. So you became the best in the military. So that culture did not go away, Mr. Charles. I want you to know. And
right.
so I tell people that we have to find ways that will help our culture And when I say culture, I'm talking about the military culture, the civilian culture, every culture that we live in, grow and to recognize what we are faced with from a research standpoint. When
Mm.
we analyze things and do literary research on things, that we come up with these hypotheses of how to handle the culture, then we do better. When we know better, we do better. That's the thing in life, you know. When we know
Mm.
better, we do better. When we find out what we face with, we find out how to handle it.
How do you prioritize self care and prevent burnout while working in the mental health field?
Woo! I'm still trying to learn that one, Mr. Charles. I'm letting you know now because I have not mastered that one. Uh, One of the things I will say this to you, Mr. Charles, is that I'm still learning that process.
Mm.
Uh, because most people that know me will tell you I don't know when to quit.
Mhm.
At 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, my brain is still going about something that I have encountered, and I'm trying to be the fixer. I'm trying to figure out what can I do, and I get little or no sleep. If I take these glasses off, you will see the bags under my eyes. So thank God I won't take them off. Um, but I try my best to prioritize. Well, I'll tell you this: what I just started. I joined the YMCA, so on Tuesday and Thursday, I go to the gym and I do water aerobics now. So
Mhm.
that's something I didn't do before, and
Mhm.
that's me. Nobody's gonna take that away. It's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and yes, I do get up at that time. I get away before then, but that's from 8 to 9. That's what I do first,
Mhm.
and then I start my day. If I have therapy, I do my therapy. If I have clients, I see them in between, but I juggle my whole day, then come home and do meetings on Zoom and other meetings in person, and then when I do go to bed, I'll get 2 or 3 hours of sleep and then start all over. So I
Oh,
haven't mastered that yet, but I'm planning on mastering it real soon, Mr. Charles.
ooh, well, you tell me when you get to that point, because I can
Okay.
tell you, yeah, those I'm starting to burn the candle on both ends myself.
Yes. Yes, and we do to make it happen. We do to make it
Right. What advice do you have for individuals interested in pursuing a career in mental health?
happen. Get ready when you go in there to cry a lot, because before you can, um, when you're going through classes, you're going to find yourself in a lot of the work that you do. A lot of the classes that you take, you're going to, honey, what did I get myself into? Because you will see yourself in every situation that the textbook talk about, that the teacher talks about, that you have to write about. You're going to find yourself, your family, your friends, and different people in life. So get ready to have a lot of tissue. Get ready to give up life, because for 5 years that I was in school, I did not do anywhere. I didn't vacation. I went home and took care of my mom and brought the computers. I bought about 4 computers during the whole time I was in school. Um, Make sure that you know that you're ready for this and get it done and get it done.
So, how do you collaborate with other healthcare professionals to provide comprehensive care for your patients?
I have two other people that uh, I'll send patients to. One is a MD that for medication, and the other is a male um, that would want a male, and that's it. And so what we do is we get together and we have lunch and we talk about our issues, because a therapy always need a therapy. You know that, right? A
Yes.
doctor always need a doctor. So
Yes.
we all three get together and we got a tight circle, and we get together late at night and talk about situations and cases and stuff like that, how to help one another. And we do a lot of referrals to one another. So we are always collaborating on how to improve ourselves, classes that we may need to take, and things that we need to do to stay abroad on situations.
Okay. What role do family members play in supporting patients with mental illness, and how do you involve them in treatment?
Family member play a number one role unless it involves them, and then they're not involved at all. But if they are involved, um, what I would do is I would do the individual, and then I would bring the family into a group session if need be. Because a lot of time when I found out if it's family, and I do family therapy too, because sometimes the mental health is because the family has issues and they are bringing it on to the individual. If it's that's the case, if it's dealing with a individual might have gotten raped while they was in the military, but their husband don't know. I will bring them in on later if the person want to disclose that stuff. You always have to get permission from the individual how far they want to let the family know. And so if they give permission, then it's involved. If it's family therapy, we do the family therapy portion. If not, we just keep it the one-on-one.
Okay. How do you address the stigma surrounding mental health in your practice and community?
Good question. Very good question. So, back in the days, African American people did not believe in going to it because they would say you crazy if you're going to therapy, counseling, or whatever not. And we never did it. We never did it. It wasn't until the late 1990s that we began to go to therapy. To be honest with you, unless you was in the military, and so everybody needs to go to counseling. I would tell all of America that at some point of your life you need to go because there's something that you have endured in life uh, that you need to go for, and find yourself a therapy that will understand that I'm going for maybe grief counseling, maybe alcohol, maybe drugs, maybe whatever, depression, because you can be depressed. And I tell people, if you're depressed, it leads to other types of conditions, anxiety. You find yourself with your heart beat racing so fast, your heart racing so fast, you find yourself having panic attacks. So I tell yourself before that happens, go to therapy. Let them know I'm overwhelmed by life. You know, I'm having kids, the kids screaming, the dog barking, the husband asking for more, 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 and the job is asking for more, more, more. So I need a break, and go to a therapist just to tell them I need a break, and my break is just telling you what's going on, and get a professional counselor. Your girlfriends and your friends are fine, guy friends are fine, but they're not professional. Get your professional counselor that will analyze your condition and tell you the best thing to do. And I tell people, I go to acupuncture, laser acupuncture. That's the best therapy I've ever had. So you can go to that type of counseling. You don't always have to do. It's not always about medicine. Holistic counseling, holistic healing could be about canoeing. We got different ways to uh, give you horseback riding. There are different ways to give different types of counseling, so you can do great things. Yeah.
What resources do you recommend for individuals seeking mental health support outside of therapy sessions?
Repeat that one more time.
What resources do you recommend for individuals seeking mental health support outside of therapy sessions?
Church. Church. Mr. Charles,
Okay.
Mr. Charles, you laughing. You laughing. But now let me tell you something. In the African American community, back in the day, what we relied on because we didn't have anything but church. Our basis of belief was that God can and will. And I say that because even when we was having mental breakdown, the African American community was going to the pastor, and they helped with a lot of their problems. And so, and you say that with mental health, that's church. Number two, there are all kind of hotlines to call. Go to the hospital and admit yourself to the hospital. Just tell them, I'm going through something and I don't understand what I'm going through right now. You know, um, besides that, I would tell an individual, uh, go to a good girlfriend or guy friend who, if you're having a mental health crisis, go to someone that you trust and ask them to help you, you know. But admit yourself to the hospital sometime. And I tell people there's nothing wrong with being admitted to the hospital and tell them I need a break. Life is hard, And I rather you go there and get the help you need. Talk to a pastor who can tell you what to do. And his advice probably won't tell you to do the same thing, go to the hospital or go to a therapist or call a hotline and get the help, because they're going to talk to you and tell you the same thing. Do you need 911? Or do we need to call the police officers? And I tell people, I say, but really, church, that's one of the things, Mr. Charles.
Well, I want to, for disclosure, I want to, for those that when you first said that, I want to apologize if I offended anybody when you said that, but that kind of caught me off guard.
I know it did. I
And
know it did.
and I just know that that's something that I'm so used to hearing when I was growing up. You know, you go to church,
Exactly.
you're in church for
Exactly.
your therapy.
Exactly. And I said that, and I knew you was going to laugh at that, and because that's what we do, and not I'm not to talk about laugh, because that's what we were always told, Mr. Charles, growing up.
Mm,
I'm gonna tell you, and I say that because in our culture, that's where we went. And that's why I said it, because I knew and most people, when I tell people now, even now, when I tell people and they tell me sometimes they can't afford something, I say, have you talked to your pastor? And they start laughing. They laugh, they do just what you did. And it's not offensive. And because they know most people gonna tell, most of us who are African American gonna tell them that. Did you try your pastor?
mhm.
And that's what we do. Yeah.
Can you discuss any specific cultural considerations you take into account when working with diverse patient populations?
I really don't, because I see everybody as a human being. I talk about our culture a lot, but I really analyze the individual that comes to the table. Um, and I say that because a lot of times when people of color, and I don't mean my color, come to my table, really they've been around people like me and you all their life, and they bond with us so well that, man, I'm looking at them like, okay, bruh, sis, I'm gonna sip on some tea with you, because you family. You know, our pigmentation might be different, but you're family. But I will say this: I'm comfortable with everybody that comes to the table, and they are very comfortable with me. I had one person that that cursed me out, Mr. Charles, and my feelings was not hurt, uh, because I knew before the individual got to me, I knew the individual mannerism. I knew a lot about the individual, so I was expecting it. I was told to expect it. As a matter of fact, he came from a referral from a friend, and they told me to expect that. And so, believe it or not, that individual is still with me. It was 4 months ago that individual came to me, and guess what? He loved me more than anything right now. He loved me more than a hog loves slop. That's what he tell me all the time,
Mhm.
because he said he know he have gotten the right help from me, and it's not even about a color. I'm very truthful in all that I do, uh, and so he's getting the help that he need. So I look at all of us as human being and God's children, um, and I tell people that come to me, I'm gonna bring up God in our session. If you're offended, please let me know, and I'm gonna refer you to somebody else, because that's the source of everything that I do.
What are some emerging trends or innovations in the field of mental health that you find particularly exciting?
Wow. Young people are recognizing that they need help
Mm,
more so than anything ever. Kids in school are recognizing that they need help, and they want to talk about it. They might not be able to talk about a parent, um, but they will talk about depression. They will talk about the anxiety and panic attacks that they have experienced. The children that are graduating now are the children that was in the COVID society. They went to school during the COVID year, the high schoolers that are graduating. And so they was the product of staying home their first year of school, and some of the second year as a freshman. And so they were more, they had more issues the first year of being homeschooled and everything. And so now they're actually talking about it. They got these crazy dances and everything that they're doing, because they are releasing the energy that they have, and people are getting mad at them, but I tell them, let them express themselves, because they've been through so much trauma during that time frame that they just so happy to get out of school. And so, and they were able to talk about it when they went back to school. They were able to talk about it and transfer their energy of being in a society where they had to wear masks some of the time in school, and all the other things that they had to put up with. So, the teens that are being able to talk about the depression and things that they're going through.
Um, how do final question here?
Mhm.
How do you measure the effectiveness of treatment interventions for your patients with mental illness?
How do I measure it? Uh, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tell you this much. I would say, out of the ones that have been through therapy, the success rate is probably about 95%. And I say 95% because I'm never going to say things are 100%, because in all things that a person have to go through, it takes time to heal, and everybody can have a relapse. All it takes is something to trigger a traumatic event that will cause a relapse, and they find themselves right back in therapy. So I'm never going to say that the individuals that start off with me will never have to return. I will say this: in 3 to 4 months, I can see a change, and that's why I can say it's a 95% success rate. But the individual is the one who will determine their success when they tell me that they have completed. I don't do the bell ringing uh, that the cancer patients do when they finish their treatment and they don't have to return. What I do is I do give them a a letter that says that, and it's just something personal. That said, you have completed a traumatic therapy, and you have completed it successfully, where the individuals, where the event, where the circumstance will never invade your mind again. I cannot guarantee it, but I pray that you have power over it. It does not have power over you. And that's my certificate that I give them.
Well, that is that. Look, that too is an accomplishment. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
So, what are some of the last things you'd like to leave our audience with when it comes to where they can either reach out to you, contact you, what do they need to learn about mental health going forward?
Okay. So if you would like to reach out to me, I'm going to give you my number, my phone number. Um, it's 910-574-3225. That's my office number. The only thing I ask is that you text me, and I'll send you a link where you can connect back with me and ask any questions. For some reason, I'm in Facebook jail because I put a Black and White America, the link that you put in there. So I don't know why I'm in jail, but I'm fine with that. Or you can go to my Facebook page for my business, and the business Facebook page is, make sure I got this right, on Facebook is Connect with a KONNECTIONS space DRK, Connections Dr. K. You can leave me a message and friend me there and let me know that you saw me or you heard there from me, and we'll go from there.
Well, I'd like to thank you for taking this time to be with us and to help a lot of us understand a lot more about mental illness and, where the mental is going today. Because with everybody being under some form of added stresses and pressures, everybody needs to have a release some way, somewhere, somehow.
Okay.
So I'd like to tell you all, thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you, Dr. K, again for being here
Thank
and
you.
sharing your time with us. And we will see you guys with some another group of important shows next week. And you all have a great evening.
All right. And thank you for inviting me, Miss